Oh, we are live, and I'm looking at the presenter's laptop. Sound check. Presenter's laptop, 12:48 p.m., May 6th. ENCS committee meeting. Clerk's laptop. Clerk's laptop. Sound check. May 6th, 12:48 p.m. Clerk's laptop. Sound check. Now I am in We are now momentarily live, and I'm doing a sound check, and it's clerk's laptop. Sound check, clerk's laptop, sound check. Presenter's laptop, sound check. Presenter's laptop, sound check. ENCS, May 6th, May 6th, and it's 1:08 p.m. And I will go back into pre-meeting.
We are good to go. Go ahead.
Excellent. Good afternoon, committee members, colleagues, staff, and residents who are joining virtually. I'd like to call the meeting of the Emergency and Community Services Committee for May 6th to order. Members of the public are advised that our meetings are webcast live by the City of Hamilton and temporarily archived on the city's website. Other individuals and the media may be also audibly or visibly recording visually recording this meeting. All electronic devices should be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings, and a reminder that we are sticking to a 5-minute time limit, which will be adhered to during this meeting. Members can always submit for another request to speak should they require more time to ask questions or make comments. Roll call. I would like to begin with Councillor Clark. Please indicate your presence.
I'm here.
Good afternoon,
Good
Councillor
afternoon.
Jackson.
Chair Nan, Ward 6 has joined you.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, Councillor Marula.
Well,
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Present.
Good afternoon, Councillor Walls.
I couldn't wait to say Counselor
know.
from Ward 7 is here.
Excellent. So moving along to item number 2, Madam Clerk, are there any changes to our agenda this afternoon?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do have one small change to the agenda. We have one new communications item. Item 5.1 is correspondence from Sean Ferris from Habitat for Humanity Hamilton regarding affordable housing, and the recommendation is that communication be received. And we also, although not a change to the agenda, the minutes of the April 22nd, 2021 meeting were replaced with a revised version to correct a typographical error.
Excellent. May I please have a mover and seconder to put the agenda on the table? Moved by Councillor Paul, seconded by Councillor Clark, and it should be for you electronically. Thank you. I assume that carried.
And that carries unanimously.
Excellent. Move declarations of interest. Any declarations to declare, committee members? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, April 22nd, 2022, moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Marula. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, the vote will be before you.
And that also carries unanimously.
Thank you. Move on to communications item 5.1, correspondence from Sean Ferris, Habitat for Humanity, Hamilton regarding affordable housing and their Repair Social Enterprise Initiative. Any discussion on the communications item? Seeing none, may I please have a mover and a seconder to receive the item? Moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Clark. Wonderful. Moving, oh, I should wait for the vote to close.
And that is also carried unanimously.
Moving on to consent
Madam
items.
Chair,
Yes,
who will be responding to Mr. Ferris?
good question.
Because they're offering some assistance to us. I'm just wondering who on staff will be getting back to the gentleman.
So it is housing services related. Director John, any thoughts? Oh, or General Manager Johnson, either one of you?
So through the chair, it's Edward John, Director of Housing Services. I'm happy we have a good relationship with obviously Habitat with Humanity. They do great work. We're happy to follow up with the question. I know we've had some preliminary discussions similar to this, so more than happy, and we can report back to council how we engage and what the outcome is.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just didn't want to miss that opportunity. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. So on to consent items. Item 7.1 is residential care facilities liaison report order update. And will staff be providing an overview or any questions? I guess I need to formally do I need to formally put it on the table, or it's a consent item? So is there any discussion or questions on behalf of committee members to staff on this report? Seeing none, we'll move to receive it. Moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Pauls, to receive the third quarter report on RCFs. Moving on to item 7, electronic vote.
Yeah, bear with me for one moment. I seem to be having with the vote. Right, here we are. Here comes the vote. And just while we're doing that, can you just repeat who the mover and the
Councillor
seconder
Jackson
was?
and Pauls.
Excellent. Thank you. And that vote carries unanimously.
On to item 7.2, various advisory committee minutes. A is Seniors Advisory Committee minutes for March 5th, and B is Housing and Homelessness Advisory Committee for January 5th of this year. Any discussion on either of the two items? Seeing none, we'll move by Councillor Marula, seconded by Councillor Jack to receive the two. It's before you electronically.
And the vote closes and it also carries unanimous.
Wonderful. Moving on to an exciting item, 10.1, accessing capital repair funds for the National Housing Strategy Co-Investment Fund for the City Housing Hamilton. I'd like to call upon Edward John, Director of Housing Services, to please introduce item 10.1. Edward, your camera is on. Please turn on your microphone, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, and Edward John, Director of Housing Services. The sun is shining, it's a beautiful day, and I get to deliver some fantastic news about a sizable investment in our social housing portfolio. So as the report points out, and I apologize, I should first of all point out the great work done by our own city staff, Jen Hohal, in conjunction with Brian Krebs and legal counsel Mike Kovacevic, who worked tirelessly to bring some of these points towards everyone today in this report. So with that, I will just go over a few brief details in terms of the report. So this is a sizable investment of approximately $145 million into the City Housing Hamilton social housing portfolio. The approach essentially involves a combination of a loan and grant in order to fix and repair approximately half of the 14,000 units currently within the portfolio of City Housing Hamilton. I would draw attention that this is a letter of intent, and that next part of this process is to then negotiate a number of those terms involved with the loan and grant approach to this exciting portfolio renewal. One of those issues that have been raised is some of the expectations of the City of Hamilton to be responsible for ensuring the outcome and the performance standards of the repair and maintenance approach are confirmed. So we are raising that for your attention, understanding that this is a fairly broad requirement from CMHC. These aren't surprising terms and conditions, but certainly are consistent with other portfolio approaches they have done with Toronto for in particular. Beyond that, I'm happy to take any questions. I would note that these improvements are focused on a number of criteria, including accessibility, environmental sustainability, and access arrangements.
Wonderful. Thank you, Director John. Committee members, any questions or comments on the report or this funding announcement? Seeing none, wonderful news, and I'm sure as Councillor Jackson and I both serve on the board of City Housing Hamilton, we're pretty excited about what this means for the portfolio and most ultimately ensuring that our portfolio of affordable units across City Housing Hamilton are refurbished. As we all know, there's been a significant capital barrier that's prevented CHH from proceeding, and this is exactly the type of investment that's needed, both in both forms, both loan and grant. So thank you again to all city staff, everybody who's on the call, and to our federal partners for bringing this funding to the City of Hamilton. So it's been moved and seconded. If we could, no questions, move to.
Did we have a mover and a seconder? I don't believe we
Oh,
did.
I
Councillor Nan.
apologize. I just assumed in my head that we did. Councillor Jackson and myself, if that's okay with my colleagues as a City Housing Hamilton board members, that'd be wonderful.
And the vote is closed and it carries unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to 10 point, Citizen Committee Report, Senior Advisory Committee, Snow Removal Recommendations, and HSR. At the last meeting, Council approved a motion to expand snow removal, a decision that encompassed recommendations from the Citizen Committee Report, and it'll be moved by Councillor Jackson and seconded by Councillor Pauls. And if there's any questions or discussions, please. Councillor Jackson.
Yes, Chair Nan, as you can see, obviously the Seniors Advisory Committee had requested hopefully that it would be implemented by the winter of 2020-21, but Council's decision will at least implement partial on major transit corridors, snow clearing for the starting in December 2022 into January 2023 season, because lots of equipment contractors will have to be hired. So for those seniors listening in, but Chair Nan, with you and I as council's appointee on SAC, I'm sure there will be some element of appreciation and gratitude, even though they may have ideally wanted it sooner, and possibly for the entire city. I'm sure that there'll be some gratitude for at least a portion of the main corridors having snow clearing in the future. Thank you, Chair Nan. Happy to move it.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Seeing no other further questions or comments, it's before you to receive.
And the vote is now closed and it carries unanimously.
Thank you. Item 10.3 is again Citizen Committee Report from the Seniors Advisory Committee, proposed statement regarding long-term care homes. Let's have a mover and seconder to put the report on the floor, and then Councillor Jackson is on the list. Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Clark. And it is open for discussion. Councillor Jackson.
So, Madam Chair, I'm going to just quickly read out the three-part recommendation here, because just like snow removal, these are back-to-back timely recommendations that have come out of Seniors Advisory Committee and the wonderful 19-member volunteer working group that the council appointed a couple of years ago at the start of this term. First recommendation, Seniors Advisory Committee requests City of Hamilton approve the attached letter conveying SAC's great appreciation to all the personnel working at especially Macassa and Wentworth Lodges for working so hard to contain the spread of COVID-19 in those facilities, because SAC recognizes they're the two city-owned. B part from SAC, that the City of Hamilton send correspondences to the Minister of Health and Long-Term Care compelling the Government of Ontario to undertake comprehensive inspections of all long-term care homes in the City of Hamilton immediately and ensure recommendations for changes are implemented. And C, that the City of Hamilton ensures that all retirement homes in Hamilton comply with all municipal and provincial standards. Madam Chair, through you quickly to General Manager Paul Johnson. Paul, especially on B and C, these are works in progress. Obviously, the seniors are very disturbed and alarmed by what has come out primarily through the private sector over the last 14 months and the whole horrible degrading type of substandard conditions in many of the LTCs and retirement homes. Is this something, Paul, that we could refer to you and take under advisement, and that as your work plan is moving forward and working with the ministries, that whatever upgrades are coming to LTCs and retirement homes can be brought back, and then Councillor Nan and I could provide updates to SAC down the road? Through you, Chair Nan, please.
Through the chair, absolutely. And we expect that when we work our way through the recommendations that have already come out from the commission and other work that no doubt will happen as we review what took place in long-term care facilities across this country, we'll have a number of things to bring both some reports on how we fared, because I think it's important that you have us look back on in terms of what happened during this pandemic through our 2 municipally run long-term care facilities, but also what the broader set of recommendation means. So happy to take those on board. I will say, just for context and for the public, some of those comprehensive inspections have already begun, and in fact, one of our municipally owned homes has just had one of those completed. So they are out from a ministry perspective doing it. So just that can be a little bit of comfort for our seniors advisory committee, that the province is certainly starting to do more of those active and more comprehensive inspections. And just on the third piece, the C piece, just again publicly to state that while we will as a municipality continue to look at our congregate settings and how we play a role in ensuring that they are safe facilities, some of that work is not within the municipal jurisdiction. And so we'll also work with the Retirement Home Regulatory Authority and other ministry connections to make sure that that happens. So just to put that in the public record, that there are some things that are not what the municipality can do. We can't ensure certain things because that's provincial jurisdiction, not our own. But we'll take all of that under advisement and continue to bring forward information about any changes that are required in our long-term care sector.
Oh, that's a terrific response, General Manager Johnson, and greatly appreciated. And yes, I'm sure the government of Ford and the ministries primarily of long-term care and the Minister of Health, yes, I'm sure that they want to implement some of the and reinstate some of the regular inspections of the LTCs and retirement homes that they so unnecessarily cut in the summer of 2018 to the tune of about $34 million. And Madam Chair, in light of the scathing Commission's report that has come out on what this government, since it came to office in June of 18, could have done, should have done, is horrifying, and I'm sure is haunting them to a large degree. So let's hope many, many corrections and greater investments of resources and facility upgrades and more annual regular operating inspections will be reinstated, carried out, and enhanced in government funding down the road. So, Madam Chair, after your speakers list at the appropriate time, I would move item 10.3 and not only receive but refer to General Manager Johnson for further reports back in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Any other committee members on this item? Seeing none, so it's duly moved and seconded. Moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by, I don't recall, but clerks, you have a seconder?
It was Councillor Clark, moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Clark.
I appreciate it. To receive and refer to staff for consideration and report back. And it should be before you electronically.
And the vote is closed and it carries unanimously.
QLC Bates. Moving on to 10.4, Citizen Committee Report, Seniors Advisory Committee. Again, this time for funding for the International Federation of Aging Conference taking place in Niagara Falls from November 9th to the 12th, 2021. This is a virtual international conference that's taking place that does have a registration fee associated to it. So may I please have a mover in Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Marula, to put the report on the floor. Any discussion? Councillor Jackson.
I just want to say, Madam Chair, given how frugal our Seniors Advisory Committee are and seniors in general, if they feel this $200 is incredibly valuable to learn more about the Federation of Aging and the conference and uniting with many seniors from across the country and possibly North America, then I think it's incumbent upon us to support the request. Happy to do that. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Seeing no other speakers, it's before you electronically.
And the vote is closed and it carries unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item 12, any notices of motions, committee members? None. Moving on to item 13, general information. Are there any items in general information or other business? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 15, which is adjournment. Moved by Councillor Marula, seconded by Councillor Pauls. Please vote, and thank you to staff, reports and preparation prior to the meeting, also to both legislative clerks for your assistance for a beautiful and seamless virtual meeting, and to our residents logging on virtually. The vote
And
is
special
before
thanks to
you.
our chair. Excellent
Okay.
job.
No worries.
Oh, phew, pressure's off, phew.
And you only did two.
And that
I counted.
carries.
Take care.